Morning. Welcome to our first webinar. This is CoOper8, the digital backbone of energy collaboration. My name is Andre Walland, and I'll be functioning as a moderator today. The time box for this meeting is 30 minutes. There will be a recording made available in the following day, which you would get access to as well. The agenda today is a short introduction about CoOper8 as a company. Then we go into project control management services, followed by material management services. We will end with a Q&A session. If you have questions along the way, please use the chat function. If we don't have time to cover all questions during the Q&A, we'll get back to you following the webinar. With me today, I have Åshild Hanne Larsen, who is our CEO. Helja Ballo, who is service area responsible for project control management, and Yngve Nilsen, responsible for material management services. So over to you, Åshild.
Thank you so much, Andre. I wanted to start with a little bit of a back. So if you take the next slide, because the story of CoOper8 doesn't start today. It actually began more than 15 years ago. Collaboration around shared services with 3 active operators involved. And it continued with EPIM and the increased focus that brought on standardization before the services were returned to offshore Norway, where they benefited from sharpened management attention. And offshore Norway has since played a really important role in maturing and developing the services, also in adding new ones and onboarding more operators. So today we are at a new stage where we in CoOper8 have been tasked with taking over these services and bringing them together into one company under shared industry ownership provides what I think is a more predictable path for further use and development, and it definitely gives a different set of opportunities for the way forward. But why is this happening now? Well, we are at the turning point on the Norwegian continental shelf. You all know that the shelf is maturing, discoveries are smaller, margins are tighter, and there is more pressure on cost and efficiency. And at the same time, the expectations across areas like safety, sustainability, production, and value creation, they remain high. What does it mean? Well, we need to deliver faster with fewer resources. So traditional ways of working will no longer be enough. And value creation will no longer happen company by company or solution by solution. That approach will be too slow and too costly for the complexity that we are facing. So in CoOper8, we firmly believe that the next competitive advantage is going to be collective. It will be all about collaboration, standardization, and shared digital solutions across companies. And the idea that significant value can be unlocked through collaboration is really not new, because already back in 2018, the Contract Competitiveness Report highlighted the efficiency and productivity gains that could be achieved in our industry through digitalization, data sharing, and collaboration across companies. The report demonstrated, if you could go back, Yngve, because I need to make a point here. The report demonstrated what individual companies can achieve on their own, and you can see that in the lower part of the graph there. But more importantly, it highlighted how working together can unlock a significantly greater value. So I just want to underline that there is a really clear business case for sharing and collaboration. And I believe that CoOper8 is the vehicle that can help the industry realize that potential. Now, our ambition with CoOper8 is simple: to become the digital backbone for collaboration in the energy industry. We are established by the industry, for the industry, and owned by 8 operators on the Norwegian continental shelf. And you can see them to the left of this slide. This ownership model really matters because it means that we prioritize and build based on real operational needs identified by our owners, and we focus on long-term value creation for the industry. And we see our role as developing and running shared services that make it easier for companies and systems to work together digitally. So our goal is clear: more standardization, better efficiency, and higher productivity, and ultimately more value for the industry as a whole. Today, we have 8 services in operation. Some are mature and pretty well known to many of you, such as EcoHub, our common repository for equipment data and documentation, and Virtual Inventory, which provides a shared overview of inventory in the industry. Others are fairly new and are still being matured and rolled out, like Loop, a shared industry platform that connects owners of surplus materials with brokers. It gives you one channel for handling of equipment sales, recycling, and waste. Some services you may not recognize because they have been given new names, like Schedule Exchange, previously known as ELAP. Schedule Exchange translates schedules from commercial tools to a standard format that is readable to other planning tools. And that makes it possible to have interoperable, seamless flow of schedule data between parties. These services are split into 2 portfolios that both address important industry challenges. We call them material management and project control management. And now my colleague Heljar will share some more details on the project control management portfolio.
Yeah, you are muted.
Yes, sorry, I have to unmute. Yes, thank you, Åshild. The Schedule Exchange and Schedule Analytics is a collaborative service where you exchange planning schedule data and you do the analytics of the schedule data. The portfolio offers a cross-industry solution where you make this efficient transfer, and you have gathered all the information in for analysis, and I'll go more into that. We have been in operation, like Åshild said, also with previously we called it ILAP. Now it's renamed to Schedule Exchange and Schedule Analytics, and we have for the experience we have for been in operation for several years now is that it's the value potential here is annual savings that is significant, and you can see it on the lower part of the slide here. And if you look at one capital project it's around the area of 2 to 3%. You can cut the cost there. If you go to next slide, Andrea, the problem. How does this value creation come from? And the problem statement here is that experience from several years is that 9 out of 10 capital projects, they fail on either or both exceeding budgets and also falling short on the benefits. So some of the statements you can see here that on moving this information between the parties, like I said, I spend more time in moving data than actual work because due to fragmented systems, silos across, lack of standardization, that's an important part, how I will come back to that, and manual handovers. And we, in the middle, you can see what we do, we exchange actually digital paper. And on the right side, you have the example that from one concrete project with one contractor, 1 month, 633 pages in the monthly report. And exemplify here, of course, it's very hard to relate to that when you get the information in that format. So, Andrea, if you take the next slide. My déjà vu was actually when I came to this business many years ago was this. I started my working career in the Norwegian PTT, Norske Televerket, and I actually started sitting with these ladies. And I'm married to one of them today. And I get that déjà vu that we have not actually automated the phone exchange. That is what we struggle with. And if the telecom companies, where I came from, working several years for Televerket before I joined then Statoil and now Equinor, is that if the telecom companies around the world hadn't cooperated and hadn't worked to standardize and how they exchange and agree on how to do stuff, the iPhone I hold here would be able to call to another iPhone, but not to a Samsung. And that is what we are struggling with. So that is what we are actually doing with Schedule Exchange and Schedule Analytics. If you take the next slide, I'll go say a little bit about the product itself. What we are doing with Schedule Exchange, or SchedX, as the name of the IT application itself, it's a SaaS solution. What it's actually doing is, if you use different scheduling systems, if you use Safran or Microsoft Project or Oracle Primavera on the left side here, what we are doing is exchanging that and using ISO standards and then you, on the other side, you get standardized data independent of what type of scheduling tool you used to produce that data. And that is how we work in the industry. Like, we have contractors using different scheduling tools. So it's the industry solution for this efficient exchange of scheduled data. And of course, it is enormous reduction of manual work that we have without that kind of solution. And this is a unique solution we have investigated around the world, and there is not many solutions, or not any actually solutions, that is doing it this way and also using the ISO standard. Yeah, we can take the next one is the analytics part. If you then move all these schedules into analytics, you will get a reporting ready schedule data across multiple projects and throughout timelines. And what we are actually doing here is we AI enable for analytics and experience and everything, because you have it in one place on one global standard format. You have all your scheduling data with all the history, and that is exactly how you can enable it for AI and do analytics on this. In what we know is all of us is coming toward us how we use AI on this, and that is not possible if you have it locked inside Safran, locked inside Oracle Primavera, locked inside Microsoft Project, and so on and so forth. So it will gain valuable insights. It uncover trends with big data analytics. So that's the AI part of it, and it also makes it possible to give attention to the critical activities. So you can be much more forward-looking on what is how your plan or how your project is developing. So yeah, so that is the two products that we are now in operation with and used by Equinor, used by Vår Energi, used by Aker Solutions, and used by Aker BP, and more and more contractors is now being involved in using this for sending and exchanging and do analytics on their schedules. So, and then I'll give the word further on to you, Yngve.
Thank you, Heljar, and thank you for the nice introduction to Schedule Exchange. I will talk a little bit about the material management services, and I will explain each one service for the audience here. The material management portfolio, it consists of 6 individual services, which are all integrated and utilizing features and functions from each other. The background for the services is to save cost in overall, related to saving time and effort, simplifying tasks and processes, and saving inventory cost and securing uptime of asset in operation. The customers who are using the material management portfolio are most of the operators on NCS. And in addition, we have user companies from the UK sector, and also Shell in Holland is using the services. In addition, we have dialogue now with the energy sector in Norway, which have shown high interest in these services. In addition to these companies, most contractors like Aker Solutions, Able, etc., and users are users of the service. And we have over 500 suppliers and manufacturers who are also using some of these services in the industry. So it's a big unity of companies now as clients and also user companies who are now engaged in the material management portfolio. EQ Hub. The first service I want to mention is EQ Hub. It's been around for many years now, as illustrated and described by Åshild. But we have over the last 3 years experienced high increase of the usage of this service. As mentioned, over 500 suppliers are using EQ Hub. It is used by most of the operators on NCS. And is used on the biggest development projects and also in operations for most of the assets on NCS. Currently, we have over 10,000 individual users using this service, and it's growing by the day. The reason for EQ Hub, if you go back, is to simplify delivery of data and documentation from suppliers to operators by having one hub where all information is shared between the user companies. All information and documentation is delivered according to agreed standards for the industry. EQ Hub Norm, and talking about standards, EQ Hub Norm is a service to visualize data and document requirements for equipment deliveries to offshore operators. EQ Hub Norm is an open solution, so everyone can access it, like suppliers, manufacturers, and contractors who needs to deliver according to these standards. But the service is also integrated in EQ Hub and other services in the portfolio. In EQ Hub Norm, as you might see and discover from this illustration, we have also mapped the used standard according to other international standard like SHIFOS and so on. The SPIR solution. Last year we launched the SPIR solution in the portfolio. This solution will remove the Excel spreadsheet that are used on a very fragmented level and processes for the industry. With the SPIR solution, we can reuse data from EQ Hub. We will force deliveries according to standards used in EQ Hub Norm. And there is opportunity to evaluate need for purchasing of new materials and spare parts, not only towards your own ERP system, but also against everything registered in warehouses on the whole Norwegian continental shelf, which is registered in virtual inventory. And then virtual inventory. In virtual inventory, all materials on stock for the NCS operations, and also, as mentioned, some UK operators are shared. In the solution, all operators can search for each other's materials on warehouses and can share materials based on request or urgent need for spare parts. The solution have integrated communication channels, and information about spare parts are enriched by information from EQ Hub. The background for that enrichment is to improve the search results for users of the service. And we have Critical. It's a very simple but very powerful service. In Critical, operators can request material from other operators in critical situations. This solution have reduced and avoided downtime for assets several times every year since it was launched 5 years ago. Critical requests can be done through a function inside of the virtual inventory solution or through an independent portal. And we have Loop. Loop is a service for all operators who want to get rid of materials, either by scrapping, recycling, or selling out of the industry. So if you compare to virtual inventory is the inner market for sharing across operators. of assets. Loop is when the inner market doesn't need the materials anymore, and the operators want to get rid of components and materials. To support, sorry, if you go back, to support selling and handling the equipment in Loop, we have engaged brokers and approved brokers who will support the operators to sell or recycle equipment that isn't needed anymore. And then some examples of success stories. Here are some real live examples where operators have shared spare parts and materials between themselves. And in all of these cases, they have secured uptime, reduced downtime, and the saving were substantial for all of these cases. The last registered examples that we show here includes sharing of materials between Repsol in Norway and Harbour in UK. So this shows that sharing principles have developed through, for instance, virtual inventory, also work on a broader scale over and beyond the Norwegian continental shelf that we started. Thank you.
Very good, Yngve. Thank you very much, Heljar and Åshild as well. We now moved into the Q&A session. I noticed that Åshild encouraged you to use the chat. So if you have any questions, please raise them here. Anything that we've discussed today? If there are no questions coming in, you can also, of course, feel free to raise them directly to any of us using the email function, and we'll get back to you. So, question from Arne Mjøs here, Åshild, to you. Where are you if you look 5 years ahead? Where's CoOper8 in 5 years?
Thank you for that question, Arne. You know me well, as I do you, so you can guess that the answer is, in my most optimistic moments at least, world domination. I do believe that we are going to develop several new services in that time, and I do believe that we will deliver our services on several continents to a variety of segments of the energy industry, not just mainly oil and gas as we do today. So the ambitions are definitely there.
Thank you, Åshild, and thanks, Arne, for the question. A new question here from Adrian David Snell from Supersteria. This virtual inventory, has there been any thoughts in regards to on-demand manufacturing, additive manufacturing, Yngve?
Yes. We have dialogue with several companies and about this now, and we will start a pilot with Vår Energi related to integrate virtual inventory, and also EQ Hub, which also is relevant for this. So yes, is the answer for that.
Good, thank you both. A question here from Jane Sartak. Which regions do you operate in? I think Åshild and maybe Yngve, you want to say something here?
Happy to start at least. No, our main deliveries are still on the Norwegian continental shelf, but for the last year or so, we have also run a pilot on a selected number of the material management services on the UK sector. So that's been interesting, and there are still many opportunities for growth beyond Norway.
Thank you. A question from Elena Skokova. What's the difference when operators just search for shared part and inventory versus asking for it as critical in terms of response time and etc.?
Yeah, I can answer that. In virtual inventory, you share and you have access to all materials across operators. So when you're using virtual inventory, it's when you're planning, replacing a part and so on. Critical is used if there is a danger for downtime, or there is a downtime, or there has been some environmental challenges for some of the assets where they need repairs. So in those critical situations, then critical will be used, because then what happens when you register the critical task is that you send a warning to other operators who will then drop everything they have and try to help. So that's the distinguish between them.
Very good, thank you. CEO Rehman asks, all vendors, I think, have their own databases or inventory systems. Is there a plan to integrate with vendors? So efforts might be reduced to populate the EQ Hub, for example. I guess you can mention this repository.
Yeah. Yes, we are developing a repository now where we will integrate and test integration with some big manufacturers like Siemens and Phoenix and so on through AAS, for instance.
A question from Henning Danielsen here. Has the EQ Hub SPIA solution been presented to the supplier industry or suppliers? Or what's the plan in relation to supplier involvement?
We have, when we developed, we included some suppliers in the development because their input was important. So in one scale, we have done it, but we are currently working with Equinor and also Aker BP, and also Vår now, related to kicking off properly the implementation of SPIR. So following that, we will follow up the supplier involvement.
Very good. And then there's a good question here from Jon Erik Högberg. How would does CoOper8 prefer to engage with the digital industry going forward? So, i.e. digital industry participants and companies. I guess it's pretty open still. You want to add something here?
Yes, we are. I guess we are developing our common services that our owners and the industry needs. But of course, to collaborate with other companies related to AI and whatever, that's of course something we will consider. Maybe also you also have some reflection on this.
No, I think that's a fair comment from you. We do already engage with parts of the so-called digital industry because we have support from companies to run and develop our solutions. But in the future, as we start defining new potential solutions, I guess we will be looking for collaboration in the market at that point. So looking forward to that happening in the hopefully not too distant future.
Thank you, also Yngve, and for the question. There's also a follow-up here. Are there any links with for example, the EFO database? So this is an example of
Yes.
One of those cases where there is collaboration happening. One of many, actually.
We have had dialogue with Elektroforeningen related to EFO database, and it will be integrated when we have the repository up and running with EQ Hub. So yes.
Thank you. And maybe one of the few last ones now. And again, we'll get back to all these questions after. So if you feel like you haven't been heard, we will read your question and handle it. So one question here from Inga-Lise Hella. We have developed a CCU master database in Magnet JQS, standardization and data sharing across actors on the NCS. Should this solution rather be in CoOper8? A question for you, Åshild.
Let me first unmute. I honestly think that's a great question because I am sure that there are companies in this industry that are sitting on solution that would add more value if they were used across. And of course, then CoOper8 is perhaps a natural home for it. So we are going to have that discussion, I think, starting with our owners and the different companies that we work together with. So thanks for raising that.
Okay, and there's maybe this is the last question here, adding on to the additive manufacturing question here from Narendra Gandhar. How do we distinguish AM design versus manufactured parts in terms of OEM? What is AM design? How do we process these? Just to give you something to follow up on, this is why we are in this discussions and talks with companies such as Vår Energi to figure out exactly how to do this.
Yeah, I support what you're saying, Andre. It's a big question, and it's a lot of details in all of this. But we will definitely integrate this with the AM features and processes going forward. And I believe it will be more and more around that topic, I think.
It's very good. And last question, actually, Jon Kåre Solås, will you integrate with engineering, EPCM, sourcing, procurement, logistics, for example, integrating with Peppol here also? There's this ongoing, many year-long relationship with GS1. Yngve, you want to add on to?
Yes, we will continue that, and also related to the standards used. I guess we are dependent on NORSOK standards now for NCS, and when we are broadening ourselves out of NCS, we need to look at other in the standards and in international standards and so on. And this is why I mentioned the GFOS mapping and whatnot. So that's where all this will be managed, and definitely it will be important for us to have dialogue with all these organizations like GS1, GFOS, IGP, and so on.
Yes, thank you all for joining. Please also take the time, hopefully, to look at our website, CoOper8. It should give you some pointers on who to talk to and what's going on and what isn't going on, but maybe should be going on beyond this webinar. Thanks all of you for participating, and really thanks to the panel here, Åshild, Heljar, and Yngve. This is really good. This recording will be made available now shortly. So thank you all, and I will conclude now.
Thank you, Andre.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.